Basketball fans, welcome back. So for the past few days, I've released a couple of videos talking about the Kenya Morans and Kenya Lioness teams who are slated to play in February. And in this video, I'll be talking about the blatant nepotism in the Kenya national team selections. And given all the data we have and how we have seen the patterns in which the Kenya Basketball Federation officials use to select their players in run-up to major tournaments. I've gathered so much data, especially with the videos I've covered, and I've seen a lot of consistencies, which I'm going to explain in this video. So, as you can see on the screen, this is the Kenya Morans provisional squad and the Kenya Lioness provisional squad. And you can see that through the years, we're seeing the same names and the same people at the helm. When I mention the word nepotism, this not necessarily means people of the same tribe, but people in the same clique, given this situation. So, the Kenya Basketball Federation are people who operate with a lot of impunity, corruption, and incompetence. These are people through the years who do not care about quality, but they only care about doing things their way. Whether it's right or wrong, they just do it. They just do it, blatantly ignoring the consequences, or even acknowledging that they have made a mistake, or even knowing that they need to understand the decisions they make impact not only the present, but also the future of basketball. So the Kenya Basketball Federation are people who have the mandate of selecting their national team. And through the years, they've done a very poor job at it, because every single time we have continental games, they've never presented the criteria that they use to select players. They've never explained to us the reason why they select these players. They've never explained to us how they end up with the final list. They've never explained to us the process. And it's always a silent affair. They will never come out and actually tell you. Even with a presser, they will never tell you that. Because majority of the time they operate in secrecy, and they're always tight-lipped when it comes to these things. But through the years, you've been seeing a lot of patterns. You've been seeing players who feature time and time again, given their overall output is very dismal and next to pathetic. And these are the same people's names that get featured, not only from the players, also the coaching staff, everyone. And it's the reason why, and I can even say it's the main reason as to why Kenya fails and flops in continental showdowns. And all the time, as I've been recording videos and talking about and giving game reports on what the Kenya Morans and Kenya Lioness have done in continental showdowns, it has been very embarrassing to see us go out in very pathetic ways. And having these players and coaching staff and also the KBF officials not be ashamed of poor outings, and them not even acknowledging that we've had poor outings, and them not even being held accountable. Because a lot of the times I hold them accountable, but I digress. So there's blatant nepotism when it comes to the selections of the Kenya national basketball teams, both the men's and women's. And the reason as to why I say this is because KBF do not want people outside their circles. They don't want new people who will get in and question them. Any new person who goes in and gets selected and starts questioning what they do gets the instant boot and is removed from that circle. So they want people who they can easily control, manipulate, and make sure that they are on their side. That's the reason as to why you could see the stint in which Coach Liz Mills was on when she came in 2021. It was very short, and they made sure that it's that way because they wanted to see how far it can go and see how far they can try to make her align to the system. But when they saw that she's cut from a different cloth and she is visionary, they said, you know what, she's going to screw things up for us. Let's bring back Coach Cliff, somebody who is somebody who we can manipulate, somebody who we can easily control. We can give them the worst possible case scenarios, and they will take it because they are desperate. And it's something that has ruined even the overall credibility and overall even production of even the players and the coaching staff, even despite the fact that we have very talented players who exist in Kenya. They will never get a fair shake when it comes to even entering, because it's a small club of people. KBF would rather roll with people who they can easily manipulate, and they have bought into the corrupted system. And KBF is a den of corruption. It's common knowledge that these people operate with incompetence and impunity. I will not stress that enough, because it keeps it's an iceberg, and it will keep showing itself every single time. And in this video, I'm going to make sure to explain to you why things are the way they are. Now, when it comes to the coaching staff, they get handpicked, and they are basically puppets for KBF, because the coaches do not even participate in selecting the players. Neither does the team manager. So the team manager for the Kenya Morans, the team manager for the Kenya Lioness, the coaching staff for the Kenya Morans, the coaching staff for the Kenya Lioness, they do not take part in the selection process, because that's how KBF have designed it. They've designed it that they are the ones who are the centers of power. They say that they think that they are the people who know more about basketball than anyone else. And for any basketball program to work, or any team to work, or any philosophy to work, for example, in the coaching situation, the coach must have the mandate to pick the players that they want, to be able to go ahead and play in an assignment. But that's not the case with KBF, because if a coach is able to pick the players that they want, they can at least go ahead and inculcate a philosophy, style of play, and strategy. But now, KBF, because they are corrupt and it's a cabal, they're the ones who pick the players. And the reason as to why they pick the players is because they want players who they can easily manipulate. I know a lot of people do not want to have this conversation, but I'm going to bring it here regardless. Now, there are players who feature in national team assignments. These are players who are very below average, or their stats are very inflated in the local league, that make them seem that they are good. And it all comes down to even the trials. Let's say, for example, the Kenya national team trials, which are non-existent at this point, because KBF have already picked the team. And I've seen this a lot of times when we have 3x3 trials. The team has already been determined who will go. So even the people who are there, they're just there as a formality. They're going to go there, they're going to go ahead and play, but at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to have that opportunity, because the management on top, the cabal, have already selected the players. And that's the same thing that happens in the national team. How is it that a provisional list has been released, but we are yet to have any trials, even yearly trials, to see who is going to play for the national team when an assignment comes? Nothing of that sort happens. Look at even the players that they pick. They only pick from the Premier League. They can't pick from Div 1, Div 2, or even the NBA. There's no developmental programs, because they firmly believe the best players reside in the Premier League, which is fine. The Premier League is the top league, but why not make it equal for anyone and everyone to go ahead and challenge for a spot there? They will not do that, because they want a small club of people who they can, bring into their system. I'm not questioning the integrity of the players, but the more they keep, siding with the federation on some things, they are also part in the problem. I can't question the integrity, but the more that they appear with them, they look like they've already chosen a side. And also, in a video earlier on, I've mentioned about the Betty Kananu situation. And It references the viral video that was made in 2019 when the Kenya Lioness team were in a very bad situation when they were playing in the Afrobasket. They were left hung to dry, and they were not able to have any facilitation coming from KBF. And they made a viral video that slammed KBF. And we saw a couple of players went behind their backs. They went and knelt to KBF so that they can get another shot at the national team. And they are there. The others who said they're not going to apologize, they got blacklisted. Betty being one of them. Betty Kananu has gone on and even won the league MVP, winning the championship last year with the Equity Hawks. But still, she will not be picked because they want people they can manipulate. And the funny thing to me, and it rubs me up the wrong way, is you can find her teammates who have been selected to play in the national team. They are not going to even stand up and say, you know what, I don't like what you're doing to one of my teammate and my best player. So in solidarity, I'm not going to play for you. You're not going to find anyone doing that. The reason as to why that is because a lot of these players are desperate and individualistic, and they just want to fly out of the country on the banner of Team Kenya. Even if they're going to go ahead and lose, they just want to go out and just fly out. Because there are people who think that they own the national team. The national team is treated, the KBF have made it that the national team is treated as a club. And it's a team that any Kenyan who plays in the Premier League, whichever league in basketball, even Caribbean Street League, they're eligible to play in that team. But they have made it in a way that it's like a club. You know, a club is different from a national team. A club, you decide who's going to get in. But a national team is equal for everyone. But they treat it as a club. And I've even mentioned this in many videos. And I've said that the selection process lacks a criteria. But I digress. So players are getting desperate and they will not stand up for what is right. Because you are seeing your teammate being treated unfairly, but you stand there and you just carry on like nothing has happened. That's a very huge red flag and a very huge problem. And that's the thing that rubs me off the wrong way. And it has diminished the integrity of even getting in there, because you're going to see in the future, people are going to refuse these call-ups. You're going to call up somebody is going to say, I don't want to play for you. And there's a reason why they even say no, because they can't buy into the mediocrity and the gag that KBF have put. And the standard they have put is very substandard. Now, players are desperate and they just want that exposure badly because they can't get it themselves. There are players who are going to cling on for dear life to be selected the final list, the final team list. And the final list, if you want to know that you're on the national team, and I've mentioned it in a previous video, you only know if you're on the national team when your name has been printed in the boarding pass when you're going to Cairo, Egypt for the ladies. For the men, we are going to know that when FIBA decides the venue of where the Afrobasket window 3 will be in February. So that's how it is. There is not much in unity when it comes to players because everyone is in it for themselves. Even if you look at the list, you have seen a lot of players who featured in previous contests, and yet their performance is dismal. And still they're going to get recycled every single time, even on the men's team, because I've made numerous videos. At this point, they've even hit like at the 100 mark on Kenya Morans, because I've made countless videos talking about different players who don't deserve to be on the national team. Last year, when the Kenya Morans are going to play in the national team, not in the national team, in the Afrobasket window, that was window 1 of the Afrobasket, I mentioned there are players who do not deserve to be on that national team. I mentioned Bosire, Grifo, Desmond Willie, Ariel Okal, and I even mentioned Joel Ewich at the time. And I said, these are the legacy players you're talking about who are not supposed to be on the national team. And they're taking away positions that can be occupied by other upcoming players. Even I mentioned, for the team to be able to be successful, they needed to do an overhaul and get rid of the old players, put in younger players, get younger. Even if you're going to go ahead and do a rebuild, it's best to just do a rebuild. Even if you lose games, but you have young players who are getting experience, it's better than going with old players with the mentality of we're going to win it. Now the stakes are very high because in 2023, even asked the question when they're heading into the AfroChan, because the AfroChan at the time in 2023, it's just a developmental tournament to see if countries can inculcate local players to play. But what did KBF do? They went ahead and went with the older players for the Kenya Morans. At least they gave a couple of players their debut. We saw Adera debuting. We saw Derek Ogechi debuting. So it was a feel-good moment. And also Bramwell debuted for the Morans. So it was a good thing. But heading into major tournaments like the AfroBasket, as much as you need veteran presence there, you also need to get younger, because if you don't get players who are able to play well and understand like the scale of the competition, you're going to fail at every turn. And we have seen the Kenya Morans fail so much, especially in window 2 when they played last year. Almost a year ago, they implemented the same strategies. They started preparing late, and they lost 2 games, only won the last game against Guinea. Tunisia and Angola mopped the floor with us, and it was a no contest. And I made videos in detail covering the stats and everything. And when I released the 4th video, when I was talking about the Kenya Morans at the time, I even mentioned, and I said, they have now a whole year to prepare. Now it's 11 months. There's no meeting, nothing. Just the time they're congregating. Now even for the women is worse, because this is the first time they are playing for the national team in 2 years. And you're seeing the same names get recycled. Yes, we have seen a couple of players play, let's say for the Lioness Provisional Squad. You've seen a couple of players play in club continental showdowns like the AWBL and WBLA. But their performances have been subpar. I mean, some players like Natalia Akinyi, I mean, very bad. We have seen, we have even seen like some players. I mean, you just ask yourself, like, what do they actually bring to a team? You can see Rachel Akinyi there. You can see Valerie. There are some players, man. You don't even understand. You don't even understand what criteria did they use. Did they pick them because they are from the top teams? It's a head scratcher. But there's no criteria. But bottom line, there's no criteria in picking these players. It's all about who the KBF officials think is good. But when it comes to the output, they're not good. And I feel bad, especially for the women's side, because the women's division in the Kenya Basketball Premier League is a very weak one, to the point where the players can't even gauge if they're improving or not improving, especially at the club level. You have players who drawn for the national team. The majority of the time they come from the KPA Dockers and the Equity Hawks. So these players, when they play in the local league, because the women's division is not stacked, you're not able to gauge how good they are. So they get exposed when it comes to continental matchups. So in the continental games, their flaws become magnified because they are playing against teams that have the ability to offset their power and how they play. And they're being coached by a coach that, the coaches that are there for the Equity Hawks and the KPA Dockers, they don't know how to make adjustments because they've never been in those situations. They've never been in those games where they are being forced to play actual offense. They are actually forced to play good defense. They have never been in those situations because majority of the time it's just transition points, no structure, nothing. And that's why they get exposed majority of the time. Even the quote-unquote top players who are even listed here, who think that they are good, like Natalie, Mary Lisa, Jemima Knight. Especially Jemima Knight, she got exposed brutally in the 2022 Africa Women's Cup when she played for KPA. Actually, that's the main reason as to why in 2023 you didn't see her anywhere. There are players who don't even know if they are playing 3x3 or 5x5. You're seeing them, their names feature here. So it's funny. So all I'm just saying is they get exposed and they think that they are good enough. But when it matters, especially when it comes to national team assignments, they crumble and they fall down. And they fall flat in their faces to the point where it becomes difficult for them to even understand why they failed. And you see them living in constant denial. And that's the same disease that has captured even the KBF cabal and the officials. They're still in constant denial. They feel like these players are good. Even the coaching staff, they are lived in a they're not lived, but they're in this constant loop of delusion, thinking that they are good, but they are not. And for the women, it's going to be a bloodbath because they don't even have any time to prepare. And you're going to see all types of excuses dropping, and I'll be sure to cover them. But for the men's side, still the same situation, but it's different because we have players who show up very well when it comes to not continental, but local games. But let's say someone like Griffin Ligari, Griffo. Griffo plays very well in here in Kenya, but when he's sent outside, he flops a lot, especially when it comes to the Kenya Morans. There's a reason as to why Griffin was left back and he didn't play for the Thunder. The Thunder in the point guard position, despite Griffin winning the MVP, the finals MVP, they went ahead and got UC and Eugene Adera, two guards who are better than Griffin, and they left Griffin behind. The reason as to why they went and got those guys is because they wanted productivity at that point and they wanted output, which they're not going to get. But for some reason, you're going to see this Griffin, Bosire being put there. And I go into on them because these are players who do not deserve to be on the national team. A guy like Desmond Owili does not deserve to be on the national team. Bushwa Mukota does not deserve. I don't even understand why they have put Bushwa Mukota as APR Rwanda. He's not even part of the APR squad to begin with. He's not even there. And it's actually quite frustrating because you keep saying this. I keep saying this. I don't know why I said you, but I keep saying this and I keep stressing this, but it's like just rinse and repeat again. And even the coaching, like I go in on Coach Cliff because we have seen his record. This man averages 1 win in 1 year. Because he has only 4 wins in 4 years, and his coaching style there's no philosophy, there's no identity, there's no style, there's no strategy when it comes to this person. And this is the person that has been entrusted with taking us to the Afrobasket. There's a high likelihood that Kenya will miss the Afrobasket as long as these guys are there. And I would like to ask, what excuse will he drop? What is the excuse? Because you're tired of the excuse. You keep saying lack of chemistry. You can't say inexperience. You've been there. What can you say? Because it will reflect poorly. And I'll be here to talk about it. And I'll be here to mention it. Because sometimes these people think that this is it's a joke. But I'll be here to mention it and I'll be here to address it. So it gets very frustrating. Because you want Kenya to go up the rankings, and the national team is a signature team for the country, and they are our federation to show that our federation, yes, we can produce good basketball players. But if you have people who are very incompetent, like Coach Cliff, and you have players who have zero output, and you have a federation that is very shallow, incompetent, and corrupt, managing the selection process, what do you expect? Because one thing is for sure, the world cannot corruption can never be rewarded with success. The only reward corruption gets is failure and mediocrity, and that is what you are seeing here from these national teams. No coach should agree to even coach a team which they have not selected the players. It should never happen, but it does happen here in Kenya. And that's a very, very big problem. And a lot of people do not understand the gravity of this situation. Because when we miss out, Kenya has missed out. I mean, a lot of people can say, you know what, even if we miss out, we have got the Thunder who are going to BAL. That's the consolation prize. But why is it that we can't achieve the qualification? Because look at the games that we are going to play. We're going to have Tunisia, Angola, and Guinea. The only team that Kenya has the ability of winning is Guinea, and it's not guaranteed. The other one, we only won by 6 points, and it was not easy. You could see Kenya scrapping. They scrapped away, and it was a scrappy win. There was no style, there's no nothing going into those games. But the Tunisia and Angola games, those ones are hard games to win. And it's going to reflect, it's going to show us everything we need to know. And I've mentioned this multiple times, and I said, you can't fake anything. The truth will always reveal itself on the court. They can do all this training. They can show that they are practicing. I've seen a couple of videos being released from their Instagram. They can show us everything that they're, preparing, which is okay. But the truth will always reveal itself on the court. And the funny thing is, when they lose the game, they say, of course, issues, we didn't have time to prepare. I don't want to hear, I know KBF people are listening into my videos. I don't want to hear any excuses, by the way. Don't come in here with excuses saying that, we didn't prepare well, we didn't have the facilities. I keep hearing the same excuses. Nyayo is available, Kasarani is available. Go train. Go make sure you train. But look at the time you're training for a major from a major tournament from the women's side that has not met in 2 years. This is the time that they have started training together in 2 years. Will you be able to win? I don't think so. And you're not playing at home, you're playing away on foreign soil. So that means you're yet even to acclimatize to that environment, and you expect to perform at a high level. When you fail, the Kenya Lioness, who will you blame? Because a lot of excuses get dropped. Then when we start asking questions, you start crying. You start saying that you are hating or you're too negative. No, it's not about negative. It's about preparing and being true to your word and being right and accurate. So I don't hear any excuses, even from the men's side, because they had a whole 11 months to prepare. But what did they do? They ignored it. They said, let's just wait for last minute. Then you bring in the legacy players, try to mix them with new players who don't even know. Are you playing 3x3 or 5x5? You desperate players who just want to cling on to the fact that, they just want to represent my country. I think my country owes me a spot. I already played in the Afro basket. I have experience in the Afro basket. That is what they're riding on. And you're going to see players you don't want playing. And that's the thing that is going to make us not be able to leave a mark in the Afro basket. And even if we make it, do you actually believe that these people will even prepare for the actual Afro basket? Because we saw the same situation. When Kenya qualified, everyone closed their books, waited for the Afro basket. The Afro basket came and went. We only won 1 game in 4 games. Got eliminated by South Sudan. Look, there is no seriousness. There's no seriousness in national teams. And the teams that we are going to play are going to brutalize us badly. And you will have no one to blame. I don't hear anyone pointing fingers. I will be releasing videos covering you people from this time until February when you play. And also after. Because you have to audit and you have to question what really goes on. And man, that's my take for you guys. So if you guys like the video, make sure you leave your feedback down in the comments section. I mean, it's been fun. I like making such videos because I like seeing things done in the right way. A lot of people have had some choice things to say, and just make sure to hit the notification, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because a lot of videos are going to be coming your way. So until next time, peace out.